Today we are making folders. I'll open up the file, put the CBS view up, and we'll select the plus, whatever that button is, cost item record and addition button, and type in the room name. We'll be creating folders for the various rooms. This would be for a project that perhaps has different spaces, and a good idea to have separate rooms. It is a good idea to have separate rooms when you want to find out the cost per room. So we select that row and then insert a subordinate. And we'll add another folder. This one is Division 8 openings. Your project will probably have a lot of the divisions. Division for mechanical or electrical or plumbing or that kind of thing. But we're not going to add everything. We're just going to add 3 of them. We'll add Division 08 openings, Division 09 finishes, and Division 12 furnishings for our exercise. You can also select one of these subordinate line items and copy it and then paste it back into the primary line item. And then just rename it. That worked too. Okay. Select insert subordinate for a Division 8 openings. And we'll put in door type A. It'll probably end up being door 212 or whatever the door number is. Door types and the hardware and the frame and all that seem to be done pretty early. So you can follow those pretty specifically. You double click in it, it opens that window where you can check to make sure that it's direct cost. You don't want any of these in this area to be overhead or anything like that. The cost segment should be direct cost. So we'll go to finishes, add a subordinate line item. Let's see, we'll put in wall type. Nope. Wall finishes. Then we'll put in ceiling finishes. And then we'll put in wall types. I prefer to have wall types first and then wall finishes, ceiling finishes, and floor finishes. So what we're going to find out is that if you cut and paste it back into the same parent, it's going to put it at the bottom of the list. So right now it's wall finishes, ceiling, and partitions. I'm going to copy and paste partitions, and it keeps it at the bottom. So then we copy and paste wall finishes into the parent, and it puts it at the bottom of the list behind partition types. And that way I can put it in the order that I like. I'll cut and paste the ceiling finishes too, and then that'll put it in the order that I prefer. There's probably a way to do it where you drag it. I haven't figured that one out yet. It's just logical in my head. And then we add floor finishes to complete the folders. Okay, notice the partition types is a lump sum as well as wall finishes, but then the ceiling and floor were square feet. This is where it starts to depend on what you're talking about, whether you're doing a lump sum or a square foot or linear foot or that kind of thing. It's not clear to do a square foot cost on a wall type or the wall finishes because it just gets too mixed up. So those I keep as lump sums. But as far as the floor and the ceiling, at this level, square foot can be tracked. So we move down to the cabinetry. That's made up of cabinets and of countertops. Again, cabinets and counters at this level, you can put in linear feet. You can track it that way. And we're also going to include bookcases under cabinetry. Every once in a while, it's not bad to come into this tab and check that it's still being applied to direct cost. All right. Okay, under floor finishes, we're going to add the next level is carpet broadloom. Then we'll add carpet tile. And then we'll add a wood base. Now these will be using square foot cost or linear foot cost. By this level, you should be tracking that. Then under our ceiling, we're going to split it into a suspended ceiling system and a gypboard ceiling. It may seem a lot of effort to split it out into this detail, and it is a little bit of work, but when you're going over the drawings or the sketch, you have to calculate these things or measure these items anyway. And it's it gets too confusing if you don't. If you try to put everything into one folder, you don't, at least I, lose track of what was recorded and what's included in that number. And a lot of the times, if the project has been developing, you have to start all over again when it changes. You can't just go to that particular location and adjust something. For example, the judge's chambers, let's say it doubled in size. I couldn't go into an estimate that didn't have it broken out and multiply the judge's chambers by 2 because it's all mixed in. So this does seem like some extra effort. And it is extra effort, but it is useful. The wall finishes, you'll notice that it's tile and wainscot. I don't have paint on there because this is not a good place to put the paint, but we'll cover that later. Those tile and the wainscot are going to be using the square foot unit of measure. And then the wall types, we'll use wall type A and wall type B. Since on the drawings you'll be doing a takeoff on that particular wall type. No doubt by this level you're tracking the square foot cost or linear foot cost of it. So that's what the unit of measure you'll be using. Okay, still using direct cost, square foot, looks good, okay. Minimize that. Minimize that. And again, your project, you'll probably have more divisions in there, but this is sufficient for this exercise. So what we did is we copied the parent and we pasted it back into the job at the very top. So now we have a number 1 parent and number 2 parent. Go ahead and rename number 2 parent to the next space. This particular one's going to be the judge's private toilet. And the reason that we're putting in the square footage in the title is that our experience has been, it's useful to have that at that location. And I'll tell you why. We have multiple estimators working on one project. So we bounce around a lot. You come in and out of the file quite a bit. And it kind of gets a little, it could get a little confusing. You know, the last room you were in was 200. The next one you're in maybe 250. And you kind of lose track. And so this helps keeping track of where you're at. It also is useful because in this particular instance, we're using the design standard, and that design standard has a table of the spaces for each of these rooms. So to have it written out that the room has this much square footage aligns exactly with the table, and that brings a lot to the table. So again, we've copied and pasted the parents over and over. So we'll go ahead and save it and say okay, and get out. You're done with your folders.